While I'm talking to you now, something terrible is happening. A senseless war that has hurt many Ukrainian families. Millions of kids have lost their homes. Fortunately for them, there is support after evacuation. We are happy that they're outside of the war zone and that the opportunity is handed out to them to rebuild their lives elsewhere. Sadly, not everyone is that fortunate.
Я тобі зараз скажу, хто я. Привіт!
The Ukrainian colored community, especially a group of 80,000 students, were left to themselves inside Ukraine without any support to survive. After days, many of them managed to cross the border, receiving, though, a different treatment than the fellow Ukrainians. These are young, talented people whose dreams and aspirations have been dashed in just a blink of an eye. Just imagine if it was your child or a close family member. Together, we matter. All people, regardless of nationality or skin color, fleeing from Ukraine need the same attention. An international collaboration between the Black Impact Foundation and the Sweden-India Business Council provides assistance for the Ukrainian colored community in need. In the last couple of days, almost 80,000 students have been evacuated with the help of the Red Cross and many other organizations. Most of them went back home. However, there are still thousands of students stuck outside of Ukraine. Through our network, we provide transportation for those who are still waiting, medicine, and necessary supplies. Our aim is to get the students safely back to their country of origin. But most important, to help these students in whatever way we can to keep their dreams and aspirations alive, as they've been brutally taken away from them. Please support the mission. Let's do this. Their future depends on our actions. While I'm talking to you now, something terrible is happening. A senseless war that has hurt many Ukrainian families. Millions of kids have lost their homes. Fortunately for them, there is support after evacuation. We are happy that they're outside of the war zone and that the opportunity is handed out to them to rebuild their lives elsewhere. Sadly, not everyone is that fortunate.
Я тобі зараз скажу, хто я. Привіт!
The Ukrainian colored community, Especially a group of 80,000 students were left to themselves inside Ukraine without any support to survive. After days, many of them managed to cross the border, receiving, though, a different treatment than the fellow Ukrainians. These are young, talented people whose dreams and aspirations have been dashed in just a blink of an eye. Just imagine if it was your child or a close family member. Together, we matter. All people, regardless of nationality or skin color, fleeing from Ukraine need the same attention. An international collaboration between the Black Impact Foundation and the Sweden-India Business Council provides assistance for the Ukrainian colored community in need. In the last couple of days, almost 80,000 students have been evacuated with the help of the Red Cross and many other organizations. Most of them went back home. However, there are still thousands of students stuck outside of Ukraine. Through our network, we provide transportation for those who are still waiting, medicine, and necessary supplies. Our aim is to get the students safely back to their country of origin. But most important, to help these students in whatever way we can to keep their dreams and aspirations alive, as they've been brutally taken away from them. Please support the mission. Let's do this. Their future depends on our actions.
is Russia is not able to accept certain terms of Ukraine, and Ukraine is not able to accept certain terms of Russia. And in the end, we also managed somehow the buses. We organized the buses, we organized the fuel as well to reach these universities to evacuate all the students. And I mean, this is all the students, not just Indian students. It had close to 470 African students as well. These buses managed to reach Sumy along with 590 odd Indian students and 400 plus African students. Altogether, they boarded the bus and a ceasefire was announced. But again, there was a breach on the ceasefire, and the students literally had to vacate the buses, go back into the bunkers, and I mean, they were feeling very helpless. They literally gave up hope that if the buses have come and still we have not managed to go out, how would this happen? You know, I mean, this is unbelievable that we are not able to go out. They literally gave up, and they said that probably they will never make out. And then, of course, we all have to believe that things are still possible and doable, you know, because if one starts to give up, then you will never make it. And this is the toughest time, when one has to believe in themselves, in the team, and the others, that we will somehow pull it through. And then, of course, there was a lot of pressure through everyone. And then finally, the Prime Minister of India also called up the next morning President Zelensky as well as President Putin. And there was this pressure as well that, hey, I mean, there is our people who are stuck over there. Please allow safe passage. You know, I mean, it's our people's life at risk. And I don't want to get into too much of international politics and all, what happened, what not. But finally, the safe passage was agreed. And we were very lucky that the safe passage, which was open only for 5 hours, we already had the buses, we had the fuel and everything organized there on spot. The buses managed to move out of Sumy all the way to Poltava, which is one of the biggest train stations inside Ukraine. And for Poltava, we took the train all the way to Lviv, which is near the Polish border of Ukraine. And from Lviv, all the students were evacuated and taken. 90% of them were taken to Przemyśl, which is the Polish side of Ukraine, and the remaining 10% went towards Hungary, the Hungarian border of Ukraine. And that is how the entire event happened and fold of events. But the other unfortunate part is that there was one student who was stuck in Kiev, and this student was also shot 5 times. He sustained 5 bullets, but hats off to his resilience. The student, and we managed to send a Red Cross as well as a doctor in Kiev to pick him up. And among the shelling and everything, the student was transported towards the Polish side. And the Indian government sent a special flight, which was equipped with all the equipments. And this flight was not a normal commercial flight. This was an Indian Air Force flight. And the student was airlifted and taken back to India. And the student is doing great today, and he survives.
Wow. What a story. And all this time you have been there on the ground helping and doing this.
Yep.
Yeah, well, that's really wonderful and amazing. But NJ, if you hear that, the question comes up, why is it so difficult? Because Prashant managed Indian students out. Why is it so difficult with the African students? Why are so many of our still groups stuck right now? And other groups did pass the border, but they cannot go anywhere. Why is it so difficult?
Thank you for having me on this. And I just want to say, my good friend and brother Clarence, thank you for really putting your heart out there. And Prashant, such an honor to have known you for a while and to hear the story and what you're doing, what you're going out there. It really moves everybody. I think this is humanity at its best. When it comes to African students, I think it is tough. By the way, if you're watching this right now, you need to really contact foundation, reach out to them, talk to them. Some of them some amazing things that is really going on. The Africans have not been, most African countries have not been well organized to get their students out of Ukraine. They have been challenging. Some countries on
yes. One moment, NJ, because the line is a bit bad. I hear some noise, so I cannot hear you. I think other people cannot hear you either. Can you say that again? You were saying, starting again, why it's so difficult for Africans?
What a lot of African countries, let's look at how they organize. They probably don't even have embassies in Ukraine. They probably don't have any kind of diplomatic missions in the country. A lot of African students don't have the access to even any kind of organizations. You hear stories from young kids, whether from 17 to 21, that are living there. Some of them were just refugees or just walking there. And that is really, really difficult. And we have to give a lot of credit to people like Prashant.
Asked what countries in Africa are mainly talking, all of Africa, or is countries where specific students come from?
I will answer.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
Sorry, sorry, Andy, please.
No, you go ahead. You've been on the ground, but from what I know, we have from almost every African country in Ukraine. Big populations out of Nigeria, out of Ghana. You're looking at I mean, Zambia just took in some of its students back. They're a very well organized country. But then you're looking in Northern Africa, looking around Egypt and Morocco. You have students coming out of there, and Kenya as well. But what is even worse is that the countries which have a bigger population, they could easily get organized. But there are countries which very, very little population. Maybe you find a country like Namibia that has just about 20 students in the country, all spread out. So you don't really have a community, and that is very tough. It's very difficult for them. So we have to find ways to reach out. I've had people reach out to me telling me, you know, I got a sister here and I have not been able to see them. So if someone reaches out, please get them to reach out to Black Impact Foundation. They'll find a way for them. If they have to find a home, they'll find a home. If they have to find a way to get them out, they get them out. We just need to save lives right now. This is no time for the blame game. Get these young people out, because we always talk about young people being our future. This is the time for us to invest in that future, get them out of danger, and then we look at the future.
Yeah, if I may jump into that, Barbara, it's also very important. There are many initiatives out there, maybe less without and from an organization standpoint. What we, are aiming to do is to centralize information so we can really be efficient in the efforts, because obviously it's like if we need to talk football just for a second, that if the striker goes at press alone and he doesn't have the whole team with him, then at the end his effort is of course appreciated, but it's not efficient. So we need to really play together. And so all the organizations that maybe are not big enough but are doing amazing things specifically on the ground, or even after they have already evacuated, let's communicate and let's get the data together, because there is a lot to do even when they're out. There's going to be a next struggle that we know. We need to also make sure that the students, don't become victim of a law that is out there today that doesn't allow them to be able to stay in other countries. That doesn't exist. And so we need to really gather the information, work together, and then push for really a support system for everybody.
Yeah, if I may state that for people that have just turned in, thanks for joining this conversation. The theme is get people of color out of Ukraine. I've seen people saying that's not only for people of color. Why do we talk about Muslims? Or we mean people of color. We actually talk about the people that are not Ukraine citizens, right? That's what we're talking about. That all the people that are students, whether they're from India or from Morocco, whatever color, we share them in one bowl as colored, but that's what we're talking about. I think it's good to state, Clarence, what you mean is, for example, right now, Ukrainians coming to Holland, community, you say they live with me, and then they get a status of a refugee, they get healthcare, they can work. No, they don't get a status of a refugee, they get a status of a war victim, and that's a difference. So they're not a refugee. If you're a refugee, you have to wait. You cannot work. You have to go to a refugee center. These people can participate in society. That's what you mean right now, Clarence, right?
Exactly.
Like these from that came for a better life. Because I also heard Ukraine is relatively cheap to study. So these kids are aiming for a better future. Become a doctor, become a scientist.
I will tell you something more, Barbara. We have been, and not me, because when I talk we, there is a team, dedicated team, who is doing 24 hours work, like many other organizations and individuals. I really, it warms my heart to see how many people are actually connected to this cause and what is happening in the world. It's much more than we might believe and see. But the thing here is that we have a situation where students, when they come out of Ukraine, they rather stay actually in Ukraine than go back to their country.
Yeah.
Because they already escaped from a situation that was life-threatening. And studying for them was the way out. So imagine what those parents or family or friends have done for them to go out and study in a country where it was affordable for them to go, but they have 5 years of medicine or whatever they were studying, and now all of that is gone in a second. And then we are saying now that the law is stating that once the students are out, they will have to go back either to the country, or they need to subscribe for what is the asylzoekers. I don't know what's in English, but that status means that practically they're not a victim of war. How are they not going to be a victim of war? Everybody is a victim of war. Even those who are not in Ukraine are a victim of war. There are people now in certain countries in the world that the effect of this war is felt directly because certain supplies are not coming in anymore. So, I mean, everybody is involved. This is a global thing. And that's why it's important that we also act. And I really hope that the European countries will act the way it should.
Prashant, I heard Sweden, it's different, right, from other European countries. Is that correct?
I mean, to be very honest, I haven't experienced much about different European countries, but only I can speak about Sweden. Sweden is a country with a big heart, and definitely Sweden doesn't discriminate. I haven't seen discrimination over here happen in whatsoever. I'm a person of color as well. When I came to the country till date, I mean, even when I see refugees coming in, whether they are coming from Somalia, they are coming from Uganda, they are coming from any part of the world, they have always been welcome over here. And today, when you look at the Swedish representation, it is not just native Swedes. You will see people from Africa, you will see people from India, you will see people from other parts of Asia. It comprises of all, and Sweden has always treated well-treated people equally, irrespective of what race they belong to or what color of skin they have. Sweden values in humanity more than the color of skin.
Prashant, I do believe, and I think, Clarence, we can also state that most Western European countries are just like Sweden. What I mean is that there is, let's say, Clarence, I don't know how to say it, but some kind of bug in the law where in Holland or other countries they cannot go, but in Sweden at this point also they can go, right? So the African students, they can go to Sweden, is that correct? And they can work and get medical treatment, is that correct right now? So it's different than other European Union countries?
The law in European Union is same. You know, as far as work is concerned, you know, even if it's a native Ukrainian coming, they cannot work in any of the European countries till they have got enrolled into the system, and you get this right to work only after 90 days of the enrollment. But under the EU preventive law, you have the right to free housing, you have the right to free social money, which is given to take care of you in these crises. And of course, any country, whether it is Sweden, Germany, Poland, any country will require at least that much time to first understand and settle in the system. And even if you're not a war asylum, and if you're just moving completely to a new country just as an asylum or as a refugee, every system demands you to have at least a 60-day, 90-day probation before you actually start to work. But that doesn't mean that the government or the society doesn't take care of you. The government is providing you free housing. The government is providing you almost free food. And on top of that, paying you money to take care of yourself.
Yeah, but then Barbara, that is the law. Then the next step is how is this law implemented? Because I'm sure even in Ukraine, you know, from top down, nobody's saying to send people back when they are on a border or to not get them on the train. So it's individuals at the end that are implementing these laws or not. And unfortunately, in many European countries, the law is not properly implemented. So this is what we need to do in terms of creating this accountability and start watching what is happening and make sure that the people are aware of what is happening. There's not the same treatment for everybody, which is wrong. Simply doesn't matter. I don't want to even differentiate or give it a label. Everybody that comes out of this situation should have the same treatment. And some of the things that we know now, that is a law that is actually blocking for students to be able to continue their process. We have spoken with some people from Ireland. Ireland has opened up their doors for conversation, like Sweden, to get students in so they could continue their study. I'm sure there are many other countries who could do the same. So we know already from Sweden. This is some of the things that we are active about as well. Because if we look at the broader picture, the students abroad from anywhere in the world generally go there to get knowledge and bring that knowledge back to their home, right? And eventually create a better life for the next generation to come. So if we talk about 80,000 students that were, I think, rescued last week, Prashant, wasn't it? Last week, yeah?
Last week, the total number rescued was close to 40,000 students in total,
In total.
from all 5 neighboring countries, which includes Poland. Poland has the maximum numbers, which were rescued from Poland. Then second, followed by Hungary, Romania, and Slovakia. These are the countries, and of course, few went to Moldavia as well.
So they went back home, but then the others are still here, and then it's, what are we going to do with them? And this is part of the process, and that's why we need to create awareness and see how, you know, certain laws can be updated to a situation that nobody, of course, can predict. But now we have this, and we need to act fast, because every day that passes, the thing you don't want to kill is hope for these youngsters, you know.
Absolutely. And Barbara, one thing which I would just like to add to what Brother Clarence is saying, that I mean, we first need to just look what the subject is. Get people of color out of Ukraine. You know, one of the biggest challenge, or one of the biggest problem, like even when we heard the news for the first time, was when a number of students went to the border. They were not allowed to cross the border into Poland. They were not allowed to cross the border into Hungary. You know, they were suffering in the cold out there when it is snowing. It is -5, it is -10 degrees, you know, and these students were treated differently. There are students who are not given any place. I mean, as Clarence rightly said, on the trains or many other places, you know. I mean, they are being targeted, and that is something which should stop. I'm sure that the European Union and many others have taken this up, but unfortunately, there are still, as we are speaking today, there are still students in Kherson itself. We have a report. There are 84 students, and all these 84 students are from different parts of Africa. The maximum number in this list is from Cameroon, followed by Tanzania, Benin, Nigeria still, Ghana has, there are a few Ghanaians as well. There are so many of these students who are still stuck there. They need to be rescued. There are approximately 15 to 18 Indian students also who are still stuck. They need to be rescued. So the rescue mission is not fully over. So this is one problem. And then the other problem is, of course, the students who have come out, as Clarence rightly said, that many of them came with a hope, with a dream. You know, probably their parents invested entire life savings, you know, their generations of savings on the tuition fee of this kid, that my kid will become a doctor and come back home and take care of entire generation. But that dream is somewhere shattered. You know, these students are stuck. They don't have a place to stay. They are like jumping from shelter to shelter every day. They don't have food to eat. They don't have water to drink, you know. I mean, so the effort through Black Impact Foundation is also to ensure that these people are given these basic amenities, and we become their voice jointly.
Yeah, and to sorry, Barbara. It's just we're filling each other in, because the flow of information, and that is why it's so important that we have that community going on to get the information in. There is an organization named Black Women for Black Lives. It's exactly about these students that are blocked in Kherson, and there's like 25 families. We have a lot of students there, like 80 plus students are still there stuck, and they are on the ground as we speak now. And Patrick Kluivert with his wife are very active with this group and with this organization to get them out. So and that is the collaboration. So we are already preparing for when they're out, how we can then support them once they're out. So this is the type of collaboration that we're looking for as Black Impact Foundation, because there are a lot of people, out there doing things, organizations, and the more we can communicate, the more information we have, the more we can support each other.
Is it correct, Prashant and NJ? I heard from Patrick Live that they said we need ambulances, because with ambulances we can go in and pick up those students from Kherson. Because I see Jürgen Rijman asking, Yassim asking, what can we do? What can we do for the Black Impact Foundation? Is that a concrete thing which you say, if we know people that have ambulances, old ambulances, is that something that could help?
I mean, to be honest, yes. I mean, providing a couple of ambulances would be a good solution, but then the biggest challenge arises on the humanitarian corridor. Today you cannot send a fuel tank inside. As I said right in the beginning of this of our live session, that the biggest challenge inside Ukraine is the mobility. How the vehicles can move. There is no fuel inside. There is no petrol. There is no diesel inside. So the only option left with people is to go by walking, which is the most dangerous. And even if the ambulances are there, we need to make sure that there is enough fuel supply, which is going inside Ukraine. I mean, Poland has literally parked like hundreds of fuel tanks on the border side. Poland has provided such big support to Ukraine in this crisis. Poland is literally giving 24/7 service and doing everything from their side, but they are not able to get inside Ukraine and deliver these things. I mean, there is army on the Polish border as well, but their hands are tied. They cannot go in and rescue people and come out because there is no ceasefire. And if there is ceasefire, there are terms which are not met on both sides. So we are dealing with a very different monster in itself. So there are many nitty-gritties into it. I mean, all the African countries need to come together, put one voice together with the UN or with somebody, and speak to both sides' leader and let them know that, hey, our people are in there. We need to get out our people as well. Give us a humanitarian corridor. And after that, okay, I mean, nobody wants war, but I don't even want to comment, but if some brainless people still want to continue to fight, we can always try to stop them, but not at the cost of innocent lives,
Injay, what Pam just said, all the African countries should unite, have one voice to get together to get them out. Is that going on? Is that possible? And what can you do about that? What can we do about that?
I can't speak for all the African countries, but what I do know is that the African Union has been very vocal about this, but I think being vocal is not enough. I think actually putting action towards it's really, really what everyday Africans want at this moment. They want to see the Ukrainian authorities let the young men and women to get either into Hungary or get either into Poland so they can get rescued. I think Clarence mentioned
something. You mentioned Shevchenko in this matter, and he was important to you, Prashant, right? He also got you in contact. Clarence, do you think there's also we have such great African soccer players right now and also from the past. Is there something you all think they can do if they unite, like you are now?
Of course.
Yeah?
No, 100%, Barbara. And as I said, it's not only, Black people. Black Impact Foundation is for everybody. And but we have a focus. And so, of course, I'm reaching out to my former colleagues, but we have only 24 hours in a day, unfortunately. And they're all very, very busy. And they're all doing something already related with what is going on. But for sure, we're going to push, and you're going to hear more about it, because unfortunately, not seeing the end very near, we need to prepare for a long stretch and for a marathon. And in order to do that, we need to have voices coming out just to touch on Africa. I mean, the African Union exists already, so there is a union, and so for me, it should not be difficult to get into action. It's the relationships are in place. UN, of course, has an open ear, and you can call them anytime. I think the urgency is not really clear. I think that the information flow on what is happening, that is what we need, because unfortunately, the international press is not giving enough, let's say, of the footage, which is understandable, because in if you look at the whole picture, there are millions and millions of Ukrainian people. It's a country of 40 million people. So within that, it's a drop, right? To have 80,000, 30,000, 40,000 Africans and Indians that were there from other countries as well in Asia. You know, we have seen even a lot of Muslims that were treated the same way. So the whole thing is that the organization, the countries of certain groups were more organized. But now that we know that this is still happening, we need to see some more urgent actions from the entities and institutions in Africa to make it happen and to really get to action.
Yeah.
And another thing, sorry to finish this, is that we know by fact that in Europe, for example, even if some countries would like to go in and take people out, they cannot. They cannot by law. So it has to be particular private entities who will take those actions. But that is the type of collaboration that we're looking for. So let's take Sweden as an example, or Holland as an example. The Netherlands might not be able to go in, but we can do that. Our organization can do that. We bring those people that we have to Holland, to the Netherlands, and then the government can take over. Then they can give them the support that is needed. So we need to get in a place where we have multiple countries wanting to do the same, getting into a certain agreement that we are guaranteeing, you know, for a certain amount of people that it can come in, whether are the students or some other families, you know, and that can be hosted in the proper way.
I do want to state, though, that there was supposed to be also tonight a student that made this whole journey. And I read, well, he's in Holland now, and someone is helping him, and read the story about how their dream was the day after he paid all his tuition fees, that the war started, that he tried to flee, that they couldn't leave. They had to walk, they were out in the, they were freezing, and they were stopped in Poland, this horrible trip. It took them days. They were in hotels, they were not allowed to eat at the breakfast after the and in the end, they're here now. And the sad thing is, they were not going to go on, but they're not going on because they're afraid. They're afraid that they cannot stay in Holland. So that's the strange situation. Clarence, before we wrap up with the most important things, you're a man with a lot of connections. I assume you also speak to political figures, at least in our country. Do you think we can expect some change in the laws that we've been talking about, so that we can also take in these students?
Yeah, so I mean, if I need to have make a call for action for the Dutch government, it's really to put pressure on the European, you know, lawmakers, and to make it clear, because only that change would give so much hope to the students. Because this is something we can go out and communicate to them, that they have, you know, the possibility to continue their study, which is incredible. We have been speaking with some of them who actually were saved and are now in Poland or in Hungary. One is in Hungary, and we asked, you know, how are you? You know, what can we do for you? And then the response was, you know, we want to make sure we can continue to study. I mean, one would think, I want to see my family. I want to. No, they are so committed to their future. So this is the drive that we have, and to keep their dreams alive as well. So I believe that the Netherlands has a lot of influence. We have great institutions. like Sweden. And I believe that if we can come together to show once more, that the Netherlands can be an example to make some changes happen, to facilitate certain things that are needed now, because nobody can prepare for something that is happening now. It was not to be foreseen, right? But now that it is happening and we have the information of what is needed, we want to see the flexibility and also the commitment. This is all our problems, and not just a problem of a small group.
Yeah, and we have to admit, right, that Clarence, all Western Europe should be standing this the same. Like you said, Prashant, but also Holland, Germany, they're not countries where we judge upon, right, on your color or your background. So it's
we shouldn't, Barbara, but it still happens, even in these countries that we mentioned.
By law, we're not allowed to, so we should be able to.
Yeah.
Right, Clarence, or not?
No, we should be able. It's even not being should be able. I mean, we know that these countries are able, but we need to get to a point where we really see each other as equal, where we look at the people as human beings rather than classifying them all the time. There's no time during war, less during war, but there's no time in life actually to continue to classify people and put them in a box. We have a moment, an opportunity here to come together and let's speak as we are asking the African countries to come together. The same thing here for the European community and the European politicians to really make fast decisions on something that is very clear what needs to happen. There's no rocket science.
Yeah. If I sum it up, I think it's important that we keep spreading the word. We keep spreading the word of the students that are still there. That we keep spreading the words of the students that got out but are stuck on the borders. That we keep spreading the word of students that went to other countries but are like the ones that wrote a letter to us that are afraid. So let's promise, and everybody who's listening here, let's do that. The other thing that you've been mentioning so often, Clarence, let's call for equal rights in European countries. Sweden as an example. NJ, like you said, let's try also work together as the African countries. And it's also very important, you keep stating that they get support and that we help them because they have nothing. They're out of food, and there's nothing there. And give them a future perspective. Like you said, right out of the war, what do you want to do to study? So that, universities all over the world, they can also contribute. They can also say, let's take these students in. That's the same, I think, that counts for them. Money, I think that is always needed. I hear you all not talking about that, and I think that's a good thing. But I do want to state it. To do all this work, right? To do all this work, we need money to provide food, medical supplies. Where can people donate?
Ms. Banks, I think I'm a capitalist, and nobody has ever accused me of not being one. But I think this is a time when every good God-fearing capitalist should go out there, look at those community groups, like Prashant's groups, like the Black Impact Foundation, and other groups that are really doing their best to help out. Let's not just talk. Let's just not use words. Let us write a check. It doesn't matter if it is $1, €1, 1 penny. Any penny helps right now. Go out there. You can do it. You go out there and buy phone credit. And I'm speaking to everybody in Africa. You go out there and do your mobile money and you buy phone credits and everything. You could as long as you can be on Instagram, you can connect and you can support in any little way. It will go a big way to support this. And this is really what we need right now. You might not have the feet to march right to the border. You might not have the big name of Clarence or the big heart of Prashant, but you might have an ability to get on social media and spread the message. You might have an ability to just do $1 or $100. Some of you might do $1 million. Just do it and really, really help. This is a time. this is the moment, and let's not lose it.
Yeah, and they can make those donations on the website of Black Impact Foundation. And this is really a time for our people as well to come together. This is the aim, this is the mission. We have a lot of people that have the means to make a difference. So let's not just wait for help from the outside. We can support each other, and it's going to happen. And it's happening, by the way, because ever since we started, since yesterday, we have got a lot of support and a lot of donations. So let's continue, because this is only the beginning of a long stretch for those survivors from this war.
Yeah. I also hear some comments, people asking where to make the donations, what is the link. As Clarence just said, please go to Black Impact Foundation's website and you can make the donations there. There is all the details there, how you can contribute. We don't mind if you are not there with me on the ground in Poland to help, to mobilize things. But wherever you are, whichever corner of the world you're sitting, you can still make an impact. And that impact, you can just go on to make that impact, go on to Black Impact Foundation website and make the donation.
Yeah, like we did
about money on Saturday in Johannesburg. If you come, if you want, you ping me, I'll get you to my home. I'll give you a beer. And if you donate a lot more money, I'll make sure they get that. So come ping me on Instagram and I'll get everybody together in Johannesburg, and we're going to raise money for this. I think this is time for us as Africans to really do something. So I don't know what my wife is going to say, but we're going to open the house with a big old party on Saturday for this.
Yeah, great.
Absolutely. And if your brother or your sister, anybody is there in Ukraine, and if they have come out, especially from the Polish side, I'm there in Poland, we will share my Polish number through Black Impact Foundation's website. They can get in touch with me personally. There is a team of volunteers over there. If they have any problems getting temporary shelter, accommodation, food, I will make sure personally that they are fed and they are taken care.
Okay. Prashant, I wish you all the best. You are just one day at home and tomorrow you go back again?
Yes, I'm flying tomorrow early morning, 8 a.m. back to Poland.
Thank you so much all for being here. Let's also promise that we're going to continue these stories, Clarence, on this account as long as needed, with different people, because Patricia, she couldn't join us tonight. Students, Patrick and Rosanna, Patrick Kluivert and his wife were actually having a call right now about necessities getting them in to the Ukraine, but let's promise that we keep this alive.
Yeah, for example, sorry, Barbara, for example, because I spoke before with Rosanna, and there's a need of psychologists or people who can support them from a mental point of view, life coaches who can keep their their survival mode with the proper energy. They have this need as well. So one of the things that we're going to work on later tonight is to start gathering a group of those type of specialists that we can then put in touch with the students as well. This is a mental thing, so we definitely need to take care of them while they're still stuck, and once they're out, of course, there's going to be an ongoing process.
I think that's also very good and important that you state that, to get there, well, because I believe the hopes are gone from those students still stuck there, and we need to try to get it up again. Thank you all so much, and let's end that. We really all hope that this war is going to end soon, and that everybody will live in peace again. But as long as that's not the case, that we can all help as much as possible. I want to thank you all from all over the world, and all the best, Prashant, tomorrow when you go back. And thank you, and thank you for looking tonight at this session, and I hope you keep following this account. And Clarence, you will always follow also your accounts, see when we're gonna have next sessions or when we have things that we need. I assume you are gonna be a spokesperson also for this. So thank you very much.
Yeah, 100%. But what we need is to have more. I saw Jürgen Reimann, is there, and we need to activate all the people that have a large reach and spread the news, not only here in Europe, but globally. This is a global thing.
And not only people of color, as I might add. I'm not
That's
color,
that's why you're our moderator here.
Yeah.
Just to make the point very clear.
Yeah.
Don't worry, we are.
And thank you so much. Thank you so much, Barbara, for your support. And let's keep on doing this and make sure that people know about what is happening.
Okay. Thank you very much, and everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Thank you.